Hi, I'm Kristen Patton. I'm a registered dietitian and I'm mama too. And today on Ella Eats, we're making
fruit roll-ups.
We're making homemade fruit roll-ups. They're gonna be delicious. All right, so we're using some frozen fruit, and this is just unsweetened. We just got mixed berries. All right, we're gonna measure. Whoop. None to waste, huh? Berries everywhere! And we're doing 2 cups of mixed berries. We are just gonna warm these up a little bit. You want one as an appetizer. These are super simple. All you need is 2 cups of berries. How many tablespoons of lemon juice? 1. And then we're gonna use 2 tablespoons of honey. And all we're gonna do now is blend them up. Blended up all of our berries and our lemon and our honey. Yeah, you want to pour that over here. So since we're using mixed berries, they have lots of different seeds. We're gonna strain out those seeds so they don't get all crunchy in our fruit roll-ups. So all we have here is just a little mesh sieve. Here, and you can take this spoon. I just want you to mash it through there. Yeah, see, look, watch this. All you do, just spin it around.
Can I just try one bite?
Here, you can try this. Is that so yummy? Yeah. All right, so now we have a parchment paper lined sheet, and we're just gonna pour this on top. You wanna pour it? Yeah. Yeah. And then get a spoon or a spatula and just spread it to a 1/4 to an 1/8 inch thick. Yeah, just lightly spread it out.
Well, it's kind of hard.
Just spread it a little bit. There you go. Yeah. Let's move it all over.
You do it.
You want me to do it? There we go. So we're just going to make sure there's no holes. Spread it out. So now that we've spread this out, it's about an 1/8 inch thick. We are ready to put this in our preheated oven. Ours, the lowest it would go would be about 170. So depending on how hot your oven is, it'll cook between 4 to 6 hours. Ours should only take about 4 to 5. All right, well, it's been a long time. It was worth the wait. And here are our homemade fruit roll-ups. Do they look yummy? Yeah, you ready to try some? Yeah. So what you can do, you can make them kind of the traditional ones. We actually might cut ours into strips. But you can just store them in your refrigerator, put them in an airtight container. And sometimes it is helpful to put a little bit of a paper towel or something just to absorb any of the extra moisture. So for some nutrition tips for you, well, first I have to start off with why actually make these versus buying something off of the shelf. It really comes down to quality of ingredients, what is going in our bodies, what's going in our children's bodies. So to start with, I'm just going to read off the ingredients that are in our store-based counterparts, and I'm going to break each of these down. What are these ingredients? What does that actually mean when you're reading this? So first 4 ingredients, sugar being the absolute first ingredient, meaning that is the highest quantity in there, followed by maltodextrin, corn syrup, pear puree concentrate. Those first 4 ingredients, those are all sugar or starch-based derivatives. So note on this, whenever you see a nutrition label, Whenever it says sugar grams, every time you see 4 grams of sugar, that is the equivalent of 1 teaspoon. I love having something that's kind of this real life tangibility. If I was measuring out teaspoons of sugar, how much is going in here? So that might just kind of give you a good picture of what's going in there. Maltodextrin, that is a vegetable starch that is used as a filler. So think of any kind of powdery substance there. It's giving a little bit more weight. It is spray dried from a factory. It has a very high glycemic index. And to remind you what glycemic index is that is how quickly that sugar load is affecting the body. So we think of sugar, oh, that affects your blood sugars really quickly. Maltodextrin actually has a higher glycemic index than even table sugar does. So a little food for that there. Some other ingredients here: citric acid, malic acid, some different preserving agents, carrageenan, another very processed chemical in there, monoglycerides, xanthan gum, and locust bean gum. So those 3, the monoglycerides and the different gums, those are all different types of emulsifiers. So some of them can be some natural ones. The monoglycerides is really the one that throws up the biggest red flag for me. One, it is completely synthetically made. It is made in a lab. It is not found in nature. And what an emulsifier actually does. Give you an example. Think of a store-bought salad dressing. It always is, together. You don't have to always, shake it up. There might be a little bit of separation, but for the most part, it's the same consistency. If I were to make a dressing at home, every single time I'd walk away, I have to reshake up the bottle. The oil and vinegar constantly separates. What processing, in different companies, they will add emulsifiers that are, synthetically made that will keep those ingredients from separating. The problem is if it's never separating even in a bottle, what is it doing inside? Is that breaking apart the same way that the body intended? Not typically. A lot of our natural ones will, but some of these lab-based ones, they just continue to stay emulsified. Some of these emulsifiers have actually been linked, or just suggested, so it's not an absolute hard evidence, but there's a lot of scientific evidence that is really linking this to different irritable bowel issues, specifically things like colitis and Crohn's. What they do is those type of irritable bowel, that is affecting different parts of the small intestine as well as the colon, depending on what type of disorder. So within those emulsifiers, they continue working in the body. Our small intestine, it's permeable. It lets different water-soluble things through. But with a lot of these emulsifiers, they actually start breaking down the walls of their small intestine because they're emulsifying the intestinal wall. If you've ever heard that term leaky gut, these can be some of those substances that can actually make that happen more regularly. So even if it's not causing some of them, it can also be a trigger for some of those flares. So even if it's not a full-blown, disorder, a lot of it has been linked to a lot of bloating, some nausea, sometimes diarrhea. So a lot of just different GI concerns with some of these very synthetic emulsifiers. Other things, natural flavor. If you notice, they don't list out what natural flavors are. That could be anything. That could be grass. It could be a natural flavor. It could be something that we don't want to be in there. And then the last very big red flag, quite literally, are the artificial food dyes. So this one specifically that I looked up, this had red 40 in it. So with these, yes, the FDA can look over a lot of them, and they can be considered safe in certain amounts. However, we know that they are very, very much processed, and they have been linked to different migraines, a lot of different allergies, specifically in children, a lot of behavioral disorders, especially things like ADHD, and really we don't know all the things that it does in the body. Even if none of those symptoms are fact, I will say they are petroleum based. It is a chemical that is derived from petroleum. So looking at some of those ingredients, one, now that we know what all they are, hey, they're still hard to pronounce. We know that they are not nature derived. So I will always lean more towards knowing what's in your food. Okay, God-given nutrition there, having 3 ingredients, berries, lemon juice, and honey. I will take that any day over some of these other processed items. And you saw how simple it was. So this is one of those good things of get your kids involved. Let them know what's in your food. And anytime you can have quality over quantity, that's always good in my book. So we hope you enjoyed this episode of Ella Eats, and we will see you next time. You want more?